Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast.
Good morning, gorgeous ones. How are you this morning? Dr. Lucy here, of course, with an episode of Real Health and Weight Loss, and joined with my absolute superstar colleague, Dr. Mary. Good morning, Mares. How are you this morning?
Good. I am good this morning. Busy. It's winding up to Christmas, and there is rehearsals and concerts and recitals and charity events and school expos and lots of work to try and get organised before Christmas. And then there's lots of just trying to organise holidays and Christmas. And I feel busy but happy, I think. Good. Yeah.
It is funny, isn't it, that there is always this sort of mad Christmas rush about everything. It is one day of the year, but it seems to be like this marker day for many things. You know, people want to get their house cleaned by Christmas, or everything needs to be done by Christmas.
I once spoke to, it's all very strange, but to a stonemason. I can remember many years ago when my great uncle passed away. And I was a teenager, but I went along with Dad to the stonemason to sort of organise his gravehead. And it was the end of the year, and the stonemason said, "Look, do you need it by Christmas?" And Dad was like, "No, that's okay." And he goes, "Oh, good, because we have a Christmas rush." And he was like, "Do you?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, people suddenly realize, "Oh goodness, I didn't organise that for Auntie Maeve," and so yeah, there's like a Christmas rush even on that. Bless it. So yes, it is just a time when we make ourselves
just. Indeed. Well, this week we are diving back into the world of supplements, and this particular supplement, we have been asked multiple times in multiple forums about it. So we thought we'd do a big episode on it, and the supplement is it's hard to pronounce.
Nicotinamide mononucleotide. What are you talking about? Nicotinamide mononucleotide. It's easy.
Even the shortening of NMN.
I find that harder. NMN.
Not the rapper.
Not the rapper. We're talking about NMN. Yep.
NMN.
Yep.
Nicotinamide mononucleotide.
Correct.
Excellent. So this supplement has burst onto the scene in many industries, and with all sorts of claims and promises. And so we thought we'd have a look into them and see, sort out the fact from the fiction, and, maybe just give you some clues on some marketing mischief around it. So, Maz, I thought, you being the biochemist, if you could perhaps lead the way and just explain a little bit, because again, NMN, no one's heard of it. It's not like, vitamin C. We've all heard of that.
Over that vitamin C. Yep, you bet.
Yeah. NMN.
Sure. So
tell us about it.
Nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, it's something that we all naturally make in our cells. All of our cells make it. And it's a precursor to a really important substance that we need to make called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. We're going to call it NAD. NAD for short, NAD. When you write it, it has to have a little plus sign on it just because of biochemistry, but we're just calling it NAD, people. So that's what we mean. So NAD. NAD is a vital, it's got a coenzyme. It's a vital coenzyme and it's called a coenzyme because it makes our enzymes work. It's like their friend, and helps them along, holds their hand and makes them work in a huge number of cellular processes that are involved in our metabolism and in our energy production. So NAD is vital for all kinds of things to make us work well, to make us be able to burn our fuel, to use our food. And if we don't have enough NAD, and if our NAD levels aren't functioning properly, we can get all kinds of things can go wrong. One thing that NAD does as well is it's really important in getting rid of our reactive oxygen species. You've heard about, oxidative stress and oxidation. So we need to have NAD to be able to deal with that. We need NAD to be able to repair our DNA from little changes. So having enough NAD around is really important to prevent age-related diseases and cancer, and keep our cells healthy and be able to reproduce and use our energy effectively. So it's really important. And we do know that NAD naturally declines with age. And we do know that certain illnesses like type 2 diabetes are associated with lower levels of NAD. And so it's drawn a lot of attention to this signaling pathway to NAD from the pharmaceutical industry, from longevity researchers. Is there something that we can do? How can we get NAD to work better? Because it's hypothesized that if NAD's functioning better, then we won't get as many age-related diseases. Then perhaps we will be able to manage our fuel better. We won't get as many metabolic diseases, of which type 2 diabetes, obesity, are some of those metabolic diseases. And so then coming back to nicotinamide mononucleotide, or the NMN, not NMN. See, I find it easier to say.
And it's not M&Ms.
It's not M&Ms. NMN. This has really been heavily investigated. Supplementing with NMN has been heavily investigated as a potential strategy to increase NAD levels and improve that cellular health and to help mitigate the potential effects of aging. And there have been some studies, really intensive studies looking at animals, and then more recently some short-term studies looking at humans. And then a whole lot of companies have jumped on this and started marketing NMN supplements to us with great vigor. It's hitting people's Facebook ad feeds, and we're getting lots of questions pinging around that, NMN supplementation is the answer to obesity. It's the answer to aging. What do you think, Dr. Mary? What do you think, Dr. Lucy? So today we're going to tell you what we think.
Indeed. And I think one of the things is to think, first of all, about the phrase aging. So aging means different things to different people, and anti-aging, again, different things to different people. So, what are your thoughts on it, Mez? What do you, when, you hear the word aging, what do you think?
I reckon there are two things. There's just getting older, just chronologically getting older, which actually I think logically most of us want, because we don't want to die early. We want to live. And then there's the deleterious effects of aging, the age-related disease, the age-related debility, the age-related decline. We don't want that. We don't want the decline and the disease and the debility, but we probably do want to get older. So what we want is to stay well as we get older. Yeah.
I think that's really important that we do, that we know that getting older should not be seen as this huge negative that it is. And there's, again, we could talk all on and on about the youth washing that goes on, that, getting old is bad and that being young is good, all of that sort of stuff. So there's that in there. But yes, you're right. Definitely chronologically getting older is a good thing, because, my pop used to say there's only two options. You're either getting older or you're dead. Which one do you want?
That's right.
So, so yes, we're accepting that getting older is normal. It, again, my thoughts are most definitely we need to change the narrative around that, certainly in Western society, where, old is used as a slur, as a, as being stupid, as being silly, as being you're just an old woman, as being, fuddly, all the things. Old is not the problem. I think some of the things that come, as you said, come with getting older. But what we're seeing now again is that they're coming younger. Type 2 diabetes used to be, as you said, age-related, except people are now getting it in their 30s and 40s. So, it's not actually necessarily age-related. It's more lifestyle-related.
And we're in this this interesting time, in the history of our species, where we've largely, not completely, but largely eliminated death from communicable diseases like infections, and we have managed to we're living longer than we ever have, but we are not necessarily living healthier than we ever have. So I like the idea, not just looking at people's lifespan, but looking at your health span. So you want to slow down the effects, the more deleterious effects of chronic disease while still living longer. And, it is proposed that NMN supplementation does that.
Indeed, indeed. Interestingly, I did a talk not that long ago to a group of business women, and we're talking to them about this concept that we work really hard, all of us, whether you're a woman or a man, you work hard because you want to retire and gallivant around on, your moped or hike the Andes or whatever you want to do when you've got time in retirement. But interestingly, yes, we are living longer, but the health span has decreased, and the average now of people's that debilitating chronic disease right at the end, the average is 11 years, which means there are some people who have a hell of a lot longer. So they might have 20 years of, debilitating chronic disease before they die. Because there are plenty of, we know there's plenty of people who go, oh my God, Fred was 93 and then he just dropped dead. It's like, yeah, well, that's what we all want, isn't it? You want to be great, healthy. Oh, Fred was riding his bike yesterday and then he just died in his sleep. You think, yay, Fred, that's what you want. But yes, so you're right. So we're all fearful of frailty and being sick when we're old, rather than the actual getting old.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And there are lots of actionable steps we can take to give ourselves the best chance to have a longer health span and to improve our health and to prolong our health. And I think that is at some level, that is a deep sort of visceral desire for many people, and that's why marketing companies, there's a market there. Essentially, there's a market there,
of course,
to which it is being marketed to.
Yes, and
I think that it's important to have a little bit of savviness and to put on your skeptical hat. Put your skeptical hat on over your open mind and balance that open-mindedness with that healthy skepticism, and and to navigate the best path forward for you. So we could go into M&M a little bit more and talk about, I suppose, the current state of science. Should we and what I mean by that is the current state of evidence. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start, because the reason that we're doing this episode, again, as we mentioned, we get asked a lot, and Mary run an episode called Doctor in Your Pocket every Monday for our Momentum members, and they can bring anything, any questions, and we get all sorts of questions, which is where we had the hops, the matured hops extract, and then we've had this NMN. And yeah, looking at the science is absolutely critical, because when you look up NMN, you're first of all, the first Google search, there's lists of supplement companies that sell it. So, I did a bit of a click on the website, and then when you click on the website, they will usually, as part of their marketing, list, publications, which makes sense. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're trying to sell something, you want to, give it some validity. So, yeah, Maz, take us through some of those publications. Like, what do you,
Yeah.
I mean, they're unlike the hops thing. There is actually quite a few studies on it.
Yeah, it's been a hot topic of research for a long time now, about a decade, really. So, as is usually the case, when we sort of start researching a new potential therapeutic target, the research is on animals. So there's lots of studies looking at mice and fruit flies, and showed some potential benefits for metabolic health and anti-aging effects in those model organisms that we call them in the science world. And then much, much, much more recently, like really only in the last 4 years or so, there is starting to become some human research. And that's really where I put so much more of my energy into, because showing that something is metabolically important in mice does not mean that it'll be metabolically important in humans. It's an important first step, but it doesn't necessarily translate. And since we deal with humans and we deal with sort of, you know, the clinical day-to-day reality of people's lives, that's where I focus my energy. So there is some promising short-term research and emphasis on the short term that, you know, that NMN supplementation could be useful for that, improving mitochondrial functioning and cellular defense and metabolic health. There was a study in 2020 looking at healthy postmenopausal women. It was just for 10 weeks, and it showed that it increased their muscle, the insulin sensitivity in their muscle, but interestingly didn't actually have any change on like their liver fat or their body fat or other aspects. But, you know, it was promising. It was quite a low dose too, 250 milligrams a day. There's a study in 2021 in healthy men showing that it improved their aerobic capacity to a modest degree. And there are some more newer studies looking at various other aspects. And a study earlier on actually that looked at just proof safety, actually got a group of healthy men to take 500 milligrams for several weeks, and they didn't see any adverse effects, didn't see any issues with it. But again, this is all really kind of short term. So that's broad brushstrokes are sort of like the positive aspects. But there are some potential negative aspects that might be inferred from that data. Lucy, you were telling me about one.
There was. I also thought it was interesting that there's again a particular supplement company that's got its 15 trials listed as being, you know, evidence of the efficacy of their product, and one of the trials in particular was on healthy people, only, again, 250 milligrams, which is a small dose. And when you click on the trial, the conclusion was that it increased your insulin levels post-prandially, so after food. So when we eat, when they compared the people without the supplement and the people with the supplement, well, the people who took the supplement had higher insulin levels after eating. And my brain goes, well, I don't want that.
That's right.
Like, honestly, why would you want that? The only people that would want that are people with insulin dysfunction, you know, at sort of the tail end of their type 2 diabetes, who are really trying to, you know, get their pancreas to work a bit better. But
squeeze
the majority
every drop
of
of
us,
insulin out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want higher insulin postprandially. Why would we want that? And then I thought, well, isn't it interesting then that they're linking this study to their supplement? So two things occurred to me. Either they don't actually understand metabolic health and you know, where insulin fits into it all, or they know that most people don't click on the studies, and that the people that do, most people can't read them because they're hard to understand.
They're totally hard. They're totally hard. It's a totally different language that they're written in, science articles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is really, you highlight a really good point here, that there are potential risks of NMN supplementation. Although the short-term safety data in humans is encouraging, there seems to be minimal adverse effects reported in these clinical trials. There are some potential risks there could be risks that we don't know about long-term. We don't know. And these medications are only going to work while you take them. That's the other thing. You have to be on them to get the benefit. And preclinical studies, some theoretical concerns from the preclinical studies are that we just don't know what kind of metabolic imbalances there could be from prolonged and excessive NAD, you know, production. If we're going to push up our NAD continually, we don't actually know necessarily what the metabolic consequences will be. They might be okay, they might be disastrous. And there are also some theoretical concerns about cancer growth. So, you know, NAD does lots of things. It's really important, but it's essential for cellular growth. And it's increasing the amount of NAD you've got in your cells and in your bloodstream. It could potentially promote the growth of pre-existing cancer cells. And our body's got sort of mechanisms and safety mechanisms to try and prevent and fight off cancer, one of which includes this process called senescence, which is like programmed cell death. When a cell starts to go a bit wrong, a bit awry, there's some DNA mutations in there that could be leading it to be precancerous. One thing that our body can do is that cell can kind of commit planned suicide, senescence, like, well, there's something wrong with me. I'm out. I'm going to do, an honorable suicide. And it's possible that having just extra NAD floating around could disrupt that process. It's not been confirmed in human studies, but it's a significant concern. So, I mean, there's just a lot of, unclear, the risks are unclear due to lack of extended human studies, I think is really important.
Absolutely. And in fact, when we're talking about the studies, the studies are sort of 8 weeks. Like they're not even a year or 2 years. Like, people are often talking, concerns, to say, with medications like the injectable weight loss drugs, the GLP-1 receptor agonists, and saying, well, we don't have any long-term safety data. We've at least got a couple of years. This one was, there's nothing more than 8 weeks. Like, it's really short. And it is very clear that the, supplements only work, as you said, while you're taking them. And interestingly, again, the supplement industries, a bazillion dollar, trillion dollar, I don't know, lots of $1 billion industry that is largely unregulated, that can, make claims that even pharmaceutical companies can't necessarily. So I know there are lots of people out there who are really angry about big pharma, but I think, well, what about big supplement, whatever you call that?
Yes.
It's I would say it's worse.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're classed as a food and not a drug, that the rules are different for them. So yeah. You gotta keep your healthy skepticism hat, firmly pulled on over your head here, and so. And I think that a great way to sort of to tie up this whole conversation would be to talk about that NMN it's a natural product that we make ourselves, and NAD is a natural product that we make ourselves. And yes, it can decline, and this decline is associated with disease states and aging. But there are natural ways that you can boost your own NMN and NAD production without supplementation. I think,
Indeed.
And these are going to have way more benefits beyond even just that. They're going to be one of our favourite words, pleiotropic. That is, have lots of different benefits.
I love that word.
I do love that word. So I reckon, what do you reckon, Lucy? We could talk about ways in which you can naturally boost.
Yep. So I loved what you mentioned earlier. There, you're looking at ways to naturally increase your NAD. And you're also looking at ways to naturally stop the degradation. And so by kind of attacking it at both ends, you then, increase the pool in the middle. So yeah, again, so certainly, I mean, how much we love the 6 S's for success. Certainly 5 of those have evidence for either increasing NAD or stopping its degradation. And so, again, start with our favorite S of sustenance. You can get NAD in food. Now, I think the thing, there's not a lot, okay, compared to, say, supplementing. So the supplements are all looking at 250 to 500 up to 2,000 milligrams is what the trials are on. So these are bigger numbers. But here's the thing we know. Food, the way in which we absorb nutrients is different, food versus a tablet. So, for example, we know that iron absorption is much more effective when it is, combined in whole foods compared to taking an iron supplement tablet. We know this with lots of foods. So whilst the dose in your food might look small, I would say the bioavailability is pretty good.
That's right. And the food synergy too, all of the other nutrients that are there as well, are going to help in ways that science probably can't even, quantitate at this point in time. So yeah, food.
Yeah.
You know,
Food. So the food. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the foods that, and I mean, again, the foods that we know about are great for our low carb lifestyle because they're all the foods that we, already look at. So, we've got veggies like, broccoli and cabbage and cucumbers, like they're all good sources. Avocado, most of us eating lots of avocado, beef, and even milk. I mean, we're not big fans of lots of milk. But, so there's plenty of just whole food,
That's right. And you get the precursors that our bodies use to make the NMN. So tryptophan, the niacin, our bodies use that to make our own NMN. If we're getting a nice supply of real food, it's good. Oh, and coming up to Christmas, turkey is a pretty good source of tryptophan, just saying.
Yes.
So a bit of turkey, if you're into animal foods, that's a good one to boost up your tryptophan to therefore boost.
Absolutely. And another way to increase your NMN as sort of part of that sustenance, I guess, is some fasting. So, I know fasting is not just the benefits of fasting are way beyond just, calorie restriction, which is what some people will try and convince you of. There's things that go on during that process. So, yeah, definitely our body will make its own NMN.
It turns on longevity pathways. The
Yes.
fasting sort of it activates pathways in our genes and in our mitochondria that turn on these longevity genes. And one of those is one of the pathways, is a sirtuin pathway in particular that helps us boost our own NAD production. So nurturing your body with some intermittent fasting is a great way to boost your NAD and have all those beautiful NAD.
Absolutely. Now, exercise, again, a word that can be very, triggering for people. We've spoken about this. If you've used exercise as a punishment for food, if people have told you must exercise, if you've been flogged as a child to run around the oval when it was 35 degrees and you were hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be me. There's many reasons for people to feel have just a negative thought process on exercise, but we do know that moving your body increases your NAD.
It does. By promoting that mitochondrial function, that metabolic health is a good way to increase your NAD synthesis.
Yes.
Do something you enjoy.
Again, yeah. And my brain, whenever I'm doing any, and as we all know, my favourite thing to do is swimming. Well, it's not actually my favourite, but it's the thing I can do. Mm-hmm. So, we've got to balance practicality. There's no point having my favourite being ice skating when I can't ice skate.
Yeah.
So,
yes. Indeed.
But what I do in there is I just keep reminding myself of all the things that are happening whilst I'm doing it. So, my myokines are being activated, which is improving my mood. And now I can add more NAD.
More NAD.
More NAD, which is improving my longevity pathways, which is making me, increasing the health span or decreasing the sick span at the end.
Yes. Mm.
Okay, Maz, what else have we got? So we've got sustenance, we've got, movement, or, it doesn't have to be strength training necessarily in this one, but a movement one. And what are our other S's?
Sleep. Yeah, you could even, I know it starts with a C, but circadian rhythm alignment is really good. Our NAD production is intricately tied to our circadian rhythms. So, yeah, getting some sleep. Sleep is going to help support. So having a good regular sleep-wake cycle, getting some morning sunlight, avoiding light at night, going to bed on time, getting enough sleep, that's going to support your NAD production. And it's also going to help prevent the increased NAD breakdown that you get with sleep deprivation. So it's a double whammy. You can make more and you sort of you burn less.
Which, and you touched on one of the other S's being sunlight. And again, it's, the morning sun, not the middle of the day sun. Middle of the day sun, we know is damaging to our skin and skin cancers and, wrinkles and all of those things that the daylight sun does with oxidizing various hoo-has. The morning sun has none of that. So you can be gallivanting out in the morning, walking the dog, swimming in the pool. You're actually getting, 2 for the price of 1 with your sunlight and your movement and your circadian rhythm. So your sleep's good. So sleep in the night, again, we all need to sleep. So if you're working night shift, you can't not sleep. But sleep in the night is so much better for you than sleep in the day.
Yes. And also it's not completely proven, but we may also be able to make NAD in our skin through sun-mediated pathways. So getting a little bit of sun on your skin is also going to add that other little boost to your NAD production. So
absolutely,
a bit of sun is good for you. Sunburn, bad, but up until being sunburned, some daily sun exposure is really good for you. And yes, that morning sun, brilliant for your circadian rhythms.
Excellent. And then our last one, stress management. How does that affect your NAD?
Chronic stress quite likely lowers your NAD levels, just all of the deleterious metabolic pathways that we get with chronic stress, increasing our oxidative stress. And psychological stress causes physical stress. So it's not just like a black cloud that exists above your head as some existential thought bubble. The actual chronic psychological stress literally impairs our metabolism and our physiology, as we have discussed many times. And one of the ways in which it does it is it decreases our NAD levels. So managing your stress, we don't need desert islands. We don't need to run away to a desert island, although that does sound nice. It's about like the practical, doable things that you can do in your day-to-day life right here, right now, even though you've got Christmas and dance recitals and stressed out about having to do stage makeup on your 11-year-old girl really well. You can still take action to manage your stress.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, every time you stop, every time you do some meditation or listen to a hypnosis, you can know that in the background your NAD. Just boosting this NAD.
It could be a new mantra. I boost my NAD. I boost my NAD.
I know. I had more NAD. So as far as supplements go, I guess there's 2 things I guess we want to wind up with. One is that there's not enough safety data on the long-term effects. Short term, it does seem to have some potential benefits, but are they outweighed by these potential risks? We don't know. And do the benefits stay with you long term? We don't know. The data's just not there. So I think given the expense of this product, the fairly aggressive marketing around it, I'd probably give it a nay.
Yeah, I think for now, I think on the balance of probability, I would give it a nay as well. But
all right,
my open mind is there. A skeptical hat is on, but for now, it's a nay.
It's a nay. Well, my lovelies, we're going to bring you next week a yay in our supplement world. So stay tuned for that. So we're not always doom and gloom. We're not always, but we do, as I said, we know that there is marketing mischief. It's not just around food. It's now around supplements, and we know what they're, the pain points that they're targeting, the fears that they're targeting, and it's just some of it's a little bit rubbish.
All right, see you later, gorgeous ones.
All right, see you next week. Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.